Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Block Talk podcast, a podcast all about Minecraft events and everything around it. I am AGX, and today I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, the forever Minecraft event bridesmaid, Rice in real time.
How many weeks have you had that line prepped?
I made it
That is-
8 minutes ago before the start of the podcast.
It's a pleasure to be here, AJ. Pleasure to be here.
And
I'm very excited.
today we are joined by our wonderful guest,
I'm terrified by the line now.
the other side of the wedding party, because we have the best man, LynxyLiam.
Hello, Jax.
Hello, Liam.
I
How
knew
are
that line
you?
was going to be criminal, but I'll take it.
I called you the best
absolutely fine.
man. I think that was you kind
You
of
know,
got the dubs there.
One
to
day
be
we'll
honest.
be the groom. One day I'll be the groom, you know.
I
Just
suppose.
doesn't together.
I suppose. How are you both doing?
You go first, Liam?
Yeah, I can go first. I'm doing good. I'm chilling. Have had the busy weekend with every single event deciding to place themselves within the last like 5 days. But other than that, chilling, big chilling.
And Rice.
Cool. Busy. Obviously, working a lot. Had some uni stuff to do, but obviously, what we're here for, the reducing stuff. I played in Chamber Trials, which was insanely competitive and very, very interesting. The new direction they've been trying to take the event. So that was probably what I obsessed over the entire weekend. I'll be completely honest with you.
True that, and we are going to be talking about Chamber Trials later alongside Biome Battle. But we start with MCC Pride. MCC Pride was this weekend, and it was won by the Block Wars gang, 5-ups group, which won it in the dodgeball, which was the most chaotic dodgeball I've ever seen. It was the most crazy dodgeball I think there's ever been. But yeah, we've got some questions basically surrounding MCC and the event, because a lot of stuff happened and there was a lot of craziness to dissect. So my first question to both of you is to do with the mob face painting room. Now, I'm not sure if Rice has actually seen this, but the mob painting room was in Grid Runners, and it was perhaps the most difficult Grid Runners I've ever seen. So my question is, was it an error to include Binox Crew, or was it just a bit silly?
I mean, okay. My thing is, this was very heavily a Pride event. Like, this is an event that, you know, is combining creators from all over the space to celebrate. I don't think it mattered what was put there, as long as people had fun with it. I think the mob painting was the silliest thing I think I've ever seen. I definitely agree that this Grid Runners was the hardest I think I've ever seen Grid Runners be. I don't know why they upped the difficulty, but they went for it. And it was a very different change. I think the mob painting with time could be better, but I just don't know about debuting it in the Pride event where people aren't really playing the competitive side. They're playing it more for casual, for fun and whimsy. Like, it was a bit of an odd choice to add there, but, you know, they also got rid of Censored Time for this event. So, like, I'm not surprised that's also there.
Yeah, especially I think with the fact that they had the green team, who, let's be honest, weren't competitive event players. They finished almost 10,000 points behind any other team. Yeah, they really struggled with that room. They did manage to finish it just in time. But I think only 8 of the 10 teams actually finished the entire thing, which is crazy. I might be wrong there. But a crazy statistic. I think it was a nice idea, right? And I enjoy the fact that they always are innovating in Grid Runners. It spawned some games in the past, like I think Railroad Rush comes from one of the Grid Runners rooms in the past. So they constantly need to like change it up. I just think this one was, I think it could have been explained better what they were doing, and also
Absolutely.
the fact that the mobs are you know, technically MCC is a different texture pack, and to make pixel art with that texture pack seemed very difficult.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting choice to start. I think it was like it wasn't one of the first rooms. I think it was one of the middle rooms. So it was kind of just in between.
Second to
A lot of
last.
different. Second to last is
Yeah.
brutal.
Yeah.
Especially when it's a new room. It's not usually with the new rooms. You know, I think it's best to put them at the start, just so people can experience them for the first time and not be worried. You know, it doesn't get their pace too scary. But when it goes towards the end, that gets rough. Also, I feel like it's just unfair to compare any of Green Team because that poor team went through it. That poor team went through it in that event. The poor dev team, they tried their best. But I'm curious to see what Rice has to say now. There.
So I've not actually seen this. I've heard of this. It has made its way to me. So I've been very busy. Unfortunately, I was able to watch MC Pride, but even I have seen this little conundrum. And with one very swift search, which no one definitely caught me doing on camera, I searched this exact question up while it was being spoken about. And the top thing is a Reddit post in which Elton from Noxcrew literally said, the reason was because it was funny. So that hopefully should solve any questions about why that exists. It's pretty clear. It is a Pride event. Yes, I do believe there are some people in that event who will naturally take it seriously, but it's supposed to be a bit more jokey. I don't need to see the room. If you're unaware, Grid Runners is my favourite thing Noxcrew has ever created. Because I used to play a lot of it on Bedrock. Well, that's a lie. Other than Terra Swoop Force. Love Terra Swoop Force.
Sure.
But Grid Runners I adore. Do I think something that difficult or confusing is the most efficient thing? No, but also they spend how many hours crafting something on the event? If they want something to, get a kick out of, that's going to frustrate people for maybe a few minutes. Does it really matter in the grand scheme of things? No. Right? MCC has never been about Pride events being these hyper-competitive things. You can take it as such, but that doesn't mean the dev team is going to, foster that environment for you. So, as long as people appreciate the whimsy of it, I don't think it really matters. But that means I've not seen it. I could look at it and think that's, death's door. But until I see it, I'm going to say the bit is always the most important thing. So.
I definitely see it that way. I did like how much it annoyed some people. The room, they got so angry. It's one of the biggest crash outs I've ever seen in MCC from the entire roster, because it was just, it was funny. It's incredibly difficult. I have to ask, is it the most difficult we've ever seen? Now I guess only Liam can answer this.
Is it the most difficult room we've ever seen?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No, fair enough.
Also, just from playing Grid Runners, no. There's rooms that you watch, and definitely I think you'd say, oh, that's easy, that's simple. And then you play that map, and you're like, oh, god damn. It was, which one was it? It was the crafting one, in Rising 3, that my brain just went, yep, okay, that looked easy. Painful to play. Absolutely dreadful to play.
The one I
don't think it's the hardest one they've ever made, though.
Is that they had this puzzle one where you had to hit switches and that switch would move someone up and then another switch would move. that one was a headache. They had one similar to that in this one, but it was way easier. It was way more simple to understand, and definitely benefited from it. So let's move on to our next question from an audience member, or from a commenter on the Twitter post putting out of this. It is from Dolphin Man, who says, hot take, this most recent MCC was the millionth example of why SG and almost any other elimination-based game should not be in events. Green got wiped within 2 seconds, and it's spectator simulator unless you are a top player / team. Would love your opinions on this.
This question.
You go first, right? You can say this one. You seem excited.
I'm very excitable because I've had this debate with so many people, and to say it doesn't work in events, okay, I think it depends on the event. I would actually wager an event like MCC, it has never had a place in it. Well, okay, it has not had a place in it in the last couple of years. The event as the event scene has grown, it started to segment itself, right? You have events like Biome Battle now and events like Chamber Trials, which we'll get into later, but they're fundamentally very different events. People can take them both seriously because people are getting more competitive by the year, even weaker players. However, the games themselves are fostered for those players and the actual skill of those players. Because if you are a weak player, SG has a problem, which is the fact that you will get targeted, and if by very sweaty teams or by people who just see you as 3 points. If you're a competitive player, no matter who you are guilty of it. Some people might go, well, okay, that's a bit mean, we shouldn't do that. But the mentality is your team can just be looked at as points and nothing more, right? Not a fight, not to be worried about, because then you have to balance around it. Elimination-based games are only bad if you have a roster that is in an event where that's the intention, right? I think the idea of having elimination games being always bad is wrong, because I think they can be the most intense. Knowing you have one life causes you to play very, very differently. And when you're in a competitive environment, that intensity makes plays way more impressive. I think it creates a much more exhilarating kind of environment for people to perform, and also for viewers, right? Because, as many people, most community aren't playing these events, they're watching it. It makes it exciting. However, I think the lower skill you get, the less that becomes advantageous, because then you're just watching a spectator stream, right? Now, SG is a bit of an outdated game at its face value, but I think to say all elimination games is a bit of a stretch, because I think Sky Battle is still a brilliant game, for example. And that's because, at least in those elimination games, you get multiple rounds. SG sucks, it's usually one round and then you're just spectating for 10 minutes, and that's just always going to be bad, both for viewers and player experience. And in my opinion, your events should be fun for whoever you've designed them to be played by. And I think SG is a relic of a past game trying to relive its glory, where unless you're in a competitive environment, it doesn't work anymore, in my opinion. I just don't think it does, because if you're a weak team in a mixed roster, you can't exist in an event that has SG, because you'll be picked on. And if you're not picked on, you're basically just not playing the game, because people are leaving you until they feel like it's ethical to kill you. It's a hard truth, but I think a game like that, with people playing it with that mentality, is inherently very harsh. So I would say SG, yes. I think it only works in certain environments, but it's not always a bad game, because PBSG is a perfect example of how that game can excel in a very, very calm environment.
I find it more funny because, again, it just brings up Green Team. Really poor Green Team. They're catching strays in this. I mean, I obviously played this game too long. So I've seen survival games be Hunger Games, and you had survival games. And I think it has just been a good standalone thing for long enough to where I'm definitely a bit puzzled by its inclusions in events. Because I think survival games as a whole is just something that you could do as a standalone event. I don't see why it should be in a roster or sped up. A lot of rosters or events do survival games but fast. Blissful is a good example where they do SG but fast, where it just feels like it's there because they needed a PvP game and they couldn't have another one. So we just go to SG. Feels like a failsafe when they don't want to throw something else in. I think it's very much, it's like, oh, I don't want to do Sky Battle this time around. We're going to put SG in. And I think that's not a fair enough replacement, because Sky Battle is very different playstyle. I feel like teams that are lower comp, like Green Team, could have had a better chance in a Sky Battle aspect rather than a survival games aspect, where they are going to get picked off first regardless. At least in Sky Battle, they could have ran away and had equal armor opportunities. Obviously, SG suffers from a very similar problem, where you just also have less armor, less food. I just don't think it needs to be added, especially in this event in Pride, where obviously my goated team, the team that I was supporting, did win, so I'm a little bit biased. But also, you then lead to problems of, if there is a full team of 4 and a team of 2, that team of 2 is not going to win unless they pull out some god tier stuff, because that team of 4 has loot for days. Then they have 4 people. You're not winning. And I think that kind of just definitely strips back the era of mystery around it, where you are questioning, oh, can that team win? Can that team win? Like in this one, Tapple got stuck in the barrier,
Yeah.
And immediately from that point on, 4v1, you know who's winning. Like, you lose any thought after that point. So it just kind of makes it. I think survival games should be its own event. It shouldn't be in an event. It should be its own event, not put in a roster with other games that you are gonna have fun with, and then you basically treat survival games as a bathroom break.
Yeah.
Like no one wants to watch it.
This is my sort of thoughts on it. Survival games went from being a one-player experience when it was originally made to then suddenly a two-player experience, a one-player experience on like every server that could be, if you lost, you just go into the next game, to a two-player experience in Minecraft Monday, to now being four players. So obviously some teams are going to be weaker and are going to be hunted because of that. Not even if you bounce every team, because you then purely have to bounce them on PvP ability. You ignore like how good they are at everything else in the game, because that's what SG mostly is. It's purely PvP. Some leadership, some team working ability, but mainly to do with PvP in terms of how you're getting your kills. And it's just not been updated with how it's changed over time. I definitely think there's some events that do it better. I mean, I think MCC does it better with Meltdown. That's a survival game which I think is brilliantly done. And it's a very similar concept. Of course, it's got bow. You're only using a bow and arrow. You can revive your teammates, so on and so forth. But I think that's, in terms of a PvP-esque survival game, that's brilliant. And there's a lot of other events that do better, whether you're having a gulag or so on and so forth. But I do think overall the normal idea of SG, especially with how like maps have to be for SG, how everything around it is sort of incorporated, it just doesn't work. That being said, I would love to see it on MCC Island.
I think it would make a lot more sense there than it does in the game roster.
Exactly. I don't mind it being in the game roster and maybe pulling it out every now and again for special. I guess this was a special event, but it's just you just end up watching it, and that's the thing that's disappointing.
Do you know what a better actually argument is about this? I've just realised. How many games can you mention that you were growing up playing, on servers like Hypixel, Hive? How many of those games can you mention basically being one-to-one transitioned into events without controversy? Because the only ones I can think of are SG and Spleef. And boy, how many times does Spleef get complained about if it's not transformed in some... The only true Spleef that I have seen in a major or bigger event in the last 3 years has been Mania, and that has been complained about more than any other finale I've ever seen. And I've been playing in this scene for 4 years, right? And it's just normal Spleef, right? It's just normal Spleef. So I think there's a fundamental issue where people take these beloved games that people have always liked, and you're like, okay, if you don't know events, you're getting into it. You'll like this because you know this. But it's really hard to transition that into the traditional like four player team format, and then try and get everyone to work into that. Because the biggest thing for me as well in a PvP game is you should always have ways that you can scrounge points if your team is not as good at PvP. Because no matter what you do, right, in an event, your team making will have some teams have strengths, right? That's why game order matters. That's why things have the mystery, like Liam was talking about. As a viewer and as a player, you don't want to walk into an event thinking you're going to get battered. I mean, the green team probably did to a degree, but you don't want it to be a situation where, in most cases, because this isn't the only case this happens. This happens in every event with SG, right? And I personally have a love-hate relationship because I love the game at SG that I play in my own time as a solo. I hate it in events because I always suck at them. I don't know why. I'm always very good at the other ones that are the team PvP. I'm just really bad at SG. And I think a large reason behind that is you can't rat, right? You're forced on the ground. Your movement is purely position-based. They're very open maps. And you're constantly being forced to fight in ways where you can't get an advantage. So what you're really doing is you're forcing people to PvP. And unlike any other skill in Minecraft, Because if you're bad at movement, at least it's your own experience, right? You can take easy paths. There's no easy path in PvP. You know, you are just not getting to play the game if you cannot compete with someone. It is the most punishing skill in Minecraft if you do not have it, in terms of your enjoyment, right? Like, if you're bad at a build game, well, you're still playing it. If you're bad at PvP, even if there's respawn, you're just getting battered. So the worst thing about SG, I feel, is that it matters more in PvP games to have close balancing in teams. And when you have a game that forces you to not be able to avoid fights easily and forces you to play like you're good, if you don't care as much for it, you're punished. And I think that's not fair, because then unlike any other game, you could pop off in parkour, you know, you could randomly feel good. If your team is overall worse at PvP, you can have the best day of your life and you still can get robbed, and there's nothing you can do about it. It is a very punishing game type, and that's why I think SG is a bit outdated if you're not competitive.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Debbie has said she loves Spleef, which she does.
I love Spleef, one of my favourite event games.
I will say, I love Spleef. Made no sense as a finale game, but that's just a one layer Spleef finale is like just watching paint.
Okay,
in my opinion.
but can I say something that I don't think anyone said about the single Spleef finale? You have cojones to set that as a finale given the roster at that time, okay? Like, the amount of people that were taking Mania 2 seriously, I will always respect Jules for that, to the day I die. But I think single Spleef is cool. I do think there are some also really, really good Spleef games in the community. Spleef, I do think is example, but it's been modified, right? You don't see multi-Spleef in events growing up. That was reimagined to make it a bit more different. But I would play nothing but multi-Spleef if I could. I'm not even joking.
True that.
I love
Spleef. Right. Well, let's move on to our next question, which is all about MCC Pride and all the Pride events this weekend. We obviously had Biome Battle, but we had a whole month of wonderful Pride. And this comes from MCC Live, the show. They asked me for a video to do this, and I thought I'd ask you too. What does MCC Pride and Pride events mean to you? Let's start off with Liam.
Oh, the one that was in the video. I mean, I remember getting sent that message. I mean, I appreciate that people now kind of come and look at me as a queer content creator. I remember when the MCC wiki took 3 months to refer to me as a queer content creator, and I was just like, it's quite obvious, I'd say. It's not something that I exactly hide all that much. But I definitely say like MCC Pride and Pride events as a whole is one of those things where I just enjoy seeing them every single time they pop up. I mean, some say like, oh, it does just give other people chances to play. That's the entire point. Maybe there's some people who aren't in events as frequently. They will play a Pride event because it's for Pride and it's for charity. Like, you're not going to not play an event for charity unless you literally cannot make it. But also, I think having as many creators as we can that are in the LGBTQ plus community in these events just shows how diverse the content creation scene is as a whole. I think it's important to show that from someone who strives every single day. I mean, Shine Brighter is the perfect example of showing your pride no matter what time of the year it is. It doesn't have to be June. It can be any time of the year. You can show your pride and who you are. It shouldn't matter. But June is definitely when we can all come together and support a common cause all at the same time and just be ourselves. I think it's where people feel the safest. I think Pride, MCC Pride, Biome Battle Pride, Chamber Trial 7. Someone's odd one out. But there's definitely a few of them. Don't worry, Chamber Trials had soccer.
Whoa, Liam. We were getting along until you referred to it as that. Correct its name right now.
Just sorry, football.
There you go.
But I think MCC Pride and Biome Battle Pride was just a chance for a lot of content creators to just be who they are and be shown to an entirely different community. I know Pride, MCC Pride, was a beautiful chance for people to see if they hadn't seen the Block Wars people like Sleepy and stuff like that, who are just incredibly amazing in this community, and they show I mean, God forbid, I think one of their titles in MCC Pride was that Shadow the Hedgehog is protecting the lesbians. So we were definitely caring about the LGBTQ in both events. But we also just raised a lot of money to help people who maybe struggle to be who they are. And I think that's always very important to do.
Right.
Pride events are a weird thing for me, actually, because I think I played in 4 events this month, and I think technically none of them Pride events. Which is weird, saying that, because if people are unaware, I am both trans and also very much not straight.
Yes!
Whoa, Liam!
sorry.
Steady on! No, like, for me, Pride Month's always been a different month as a creator, because I actually started off in June when I played my first event 4 years ago, and I was an ally at the time because I did not realize I was fruity or trans. How the times change, as they say. Being in this community will turn you gay. If part of you is, you'll figure it out. Trust me. This is a very welcoming and accepting community, and that is why I think Pride events do matter a lot, actually, because a lot of people in this community will see themselves in creators, right? It sounds really stupid, but I only figured out what gender fluid was through bloody Finster of all people, who I first watched in MCC. So it's weird how things change and things develop and people can figure things out however they want. But I do think it matters because it's not just about giving me specifically a platform, but it's about giving queer creators a platform to talk about identities. Because it's not about giving queer creators a platform just to play events, because let's be so real, this community is so gay in the best way possible. But like, I remember we were talking about like, some in Blox Origins, we're like, we're gonna do like Pride events and prioritize gay people, and I'm like, you're actually just excluding 5 people from your roster when you do that. Like, it was so funny. They had to scrounge up people to try and make a straight team. It was impossible. But that applies to a lot of the community. Even in like the very competitive places, there are a lot of people who are part of the LGBT, and therefore Pride events to me aren't about being, look at this creator. It's about them going, hey, this is not a focal point about me, but let me share this about you. Because like you said, Liam, right? Some people may not know, for whatever reason, have been caught on. I've been out as trans now for over a year, and I still almost only exclusively get referred to as a he, and I don't, deep it too much. But Pride events for me are an opportunity to push that as a reminder, say, hey, this is something that's important to me, that makes me me. And if you ever want to see yourself in any way relating to my content, or you want someone to look up to, or just learn, right? I think Pride events are a really good way for creators to just have an excuse to talk about that. And unfortunately, doing a tweet on your Twitter, about your identity and stuff, sometimes that doesn't always get through. And having a really easy way to, for fun, express yourself, or in a way that you do all year, but have it be the focal point, be about who you are and not what you're doing, I think that's awesome. And that goes a long way for me, and did when I was first starting out, figuring things out and streaming. And more importantly than all everything I've just said, it is the money you raise.
Yes.
I think a lot of us are very, very privileged, and projects not just for helping our queer people across the world, but other things like Heart of a Hero that AJ has lovingly put together for such a wonderful, amazing cause. Things like that have allowed this community to be brought together and raise so much money for so many good causes. Pride events allow people to just celebrate people being who they are, what they love, and I think that is so impactful and so amazing. And having that be a thing that happens every year, where it's thousands upon thousands, it's something that unites us as a community. And we have charity events that raise money for important causes, but Pride Month is almost like a guarantee. It will always have big events during that month, and cumulatively, it is incredible what we do when we band together as a community. And it's not even just about saying what queer communities need or raising awareness. It's also about saying, hey guys, when we actually sit down and just celebrate each other, look what we can accomplish together. It doesn't need to be some over high comp or very well put together event. I mean, blimey, one of the biggest things that I've been proud of my friends doing is One Shot. That event has raised so much money for what it is, when you think about it and how simple it is. Yeah. Things like that, I think, are a reminder that it does not take a lot to make a difference if you all organise and you band together. And that's why Pride Month in events is so special to me because it is a constant reminder that we can communicate, we can organize, and we can do something. We can make a difference. It's not just about saying and being quiet, oh, we could do this or this could have happened. No, it is a reminder that we can take action. And that's a big difference to me. I think it would be really cool if we could do that all year round because, you know, these big events where we like raise money for cancer and other important causes only seem to happen every other few months. But at least we have June, if anything else, as a reminder that it is possible and that this month could celebrate something else. Next month could celebrate something else. And that we have the ability to big up and celebrate people who are struggling of so many different things all the time. And I think it is wonderful and that we are capable of doing it. And someone listening to this could be the next person to go, you know what? I want to make something of this. What event could I organize? What charity could I raise money for? What's important to me? That's why I think it's special.
Yeah, definitely. I said I can't really add much because you've perfectly nailed it there. I guess the only thing I can add is that without like MCC Pride, I don't know if I would have ever felt brave enough to come out to the community. And it is like events like that you know you feel you're in part of a community where you'd be accepted and so on, and the amount of money they raise as well. Definitely a huge factor in making Heart of a Hero and so on. So definitely, Debbie has put for real, but I wish we were like this all the time and not just in June.
That's literally what I do.
Yes, that is true. That is
what I do.
Right. So we now go on. It's a bit weird to go from that to a competition. Basically, last week I asked both Rice and Liam to predict the top 10 for MCC, and they both did so. We got varied answers.
It was.
And we'll see who actually got first place. So this is going to be based on the top 10, and whoever gets the most correct places wins, and wins a point for either Rice or the guest team. The guest team this week.
We provide context. Can I write context?
I'd like to provide context at the end of it because
no,
I promise you, it's worth it. Let's begin with 10th place. Now, 10th place, Rice, you put Tapel, who has not been in the event for a long time, but an interesting pick. Whereas Liam, you have put Captain Puffy. Was that mainly around the team?
They've done really good in the last few events they've been in. They've been consistently finishing between 15th and 7th. So, like, I thought I would have made a good decision. I think this maybe wasn't, in hindsight, looking at the team they ended up having.
They did come 28th.
Yeah.
But good for you, Tapel came 12th. Our actual 10th place player was Filzer, which perhaps ruins some of your predictions for later.
That did catch me off guard. Yeah.
9th place, Liam, you put SK, and Rice, you put Krinios. Now,
SK played in that?
Yeah, SK played in that. SK won it.
Oh no, I didn't realise that was SK on that team. Oh no, I would have put SK in.
Well, SK did get in the top 10, and in fact, it's so close, it's 8th, which is heartbreakingly close. Krinios, however...
I have like half a point for that.
almost half a point. We'll consider it. Krinios did come 11th, so you were close there as well, Rice. But instead it was Sleepy that got 9th place.
Yeah.
Now we have already revealed that in 8th was SK. Rice predicted Filzer there, which we've already said. And you predicted Misty there, Liam.
Misty was doing quite good. I think Misty's further up though,
Yes.
which is unfortunate again.
In 7th, Rice predicted Smallish Beans, and Liam, you predicted Tapel. Already said Tapel came 12th. It was Apo that came 7th.
I love Apo.
Which, let me
Love
tell
Apo.
you, the fact that Apo came 7th and Cherry came 13th had me scared as hell for Biome Battle. I thought that team was going to absolutely
giddy.
destroy. No, I was very happy for them. I was just scared as hell. I thought, oh no, Red are going to just absolutely obliterate in Biome Battle. We'll come to that in a few minutes. In 6th place, Rice, you had 5 up, and Liam, you had Krinios. It was Dave Kratzy in 6th place.
Oh,
Sadly
Dave is
so.
consistently cooking. He is just
it'd
consistently
be
cooking.
higher. I thought it'd be higher.
But we got our first point here
That's not gonna be for me.
in 5th place. Rice, you put JoJo Solos.
Yes.
Liam, you put Smallish Beans. It is Smallish Beans in 5th place.
Oh. I didn't realize Smash was in first. Okay.
Are we not doing points for getting closer?
No.
So I'm just not gonna get any of these then. Oh, this is so unfair. I've been so close every single time.
We'll maybe have to figure out a more just point system, but for this
This
one,
is robbery. Do goal difference. Do goal difference.
difference.
Points apart.
well, okay,
That's why I have
this,
my half a
we'll,
point,
we'll reconsider how to frame this next time because
That's an
that is
episode
fair.
four.
No way.
However,
He's gonna have like 30 placements difference, and I'm gonna lose.
trust me, this is worth it. It's worth it. You had Apo in 4th, and Dave was your 4th place. Liam, 5 up was 4th, which I don't. Rice had 5 up in 6th, so that's pretty close, but no cigar. Maybe as we say, goal difference in the future might work.
I'm really surprised. I thought that's how these work. Whenever I've seen these done, it's always about closeness. When you do like stakes and like always got like sweepstakes and preds.
Well, perhaps if I'll explain at the end. I'll explain at the end.
No.
Rice, you put
Okay.
Dave in 3rd. Liam, you put Apo in 3rd. It was Jojo in 3rd.
I put Jojo in second.
You did put
God
Jojo in 2nd.
Damn it.
Rice, you put Antfrost in 2nd. It was Misty in 2nd. And
I'm proud of Misty for that, by the way.
you
I'm so
put
proud of Misty.
Misty in 1st, Rice. But Liam put
Yeah.
Antfrost in 1st, which is another point.
Ah.
Wait, was the worst I had 4 off? That's low-key insane.
That's pretty
Actually,
good, yeah, to be
I'm quite proud of
fair.
myself.
Yeah, you didn't have 18 off. Thanks, Buffy.
You didn't have Sleepy at all. Or SK, so I guess that those are to mention because we wouldn't have known where you would have placed them. But yes, well done to both of you. And W Windows noise, true that. Anyway, let's move on now to Biome Battle. It was Biome Battle Pride this weekend, which was of course won by the wonderful purple team of Bloomerstar, Ogar, with May, Katie Gobert, and Jack Cass, and they raised 1.6k for charity. I should say that MCC raised 16k for charity, I believe. I might be wrong there. But incredible work from both
BM
sides.
throw there. That was
Hey, look, I work on one of them, and you know what? Biome Battles was a huge amount.
That's 17k. That's 17k
Yes.
for charity. So that's the dub.
Exactly. But we do have someone that was in Biome Battle here. So, Liam, do you want to run through your event experience? How was it?
God.
How did you feel you did personally? And what game was your favourite this time around?
Gosh, firstly, I love the team balancing. There was definitely 2 teams that were making the finale, Ajax. Loved it this time, man. Good job.
What did you mean? 3
All
teams
jokes
almost
aside.
made finale.
All jokes aside, it was a very funny, very good 3 triple team finale where the points were actually really close. I think that's the closest we've ever seen them in Biome Battle, which means
For the
we're
top
doing
three.
something.
For the top 3.
Yeah, we're doing something, right? My event experience for this event was very different, I think. Obviously, for anyone who doesn't know, I have I have not played a Biome Battle, so I've played every single one that I have had the opportunity to play. So every single time, I think I have seen and felt a different experience. This time it was just, I think, coming from someone who plays in the mains where it is just 4 players, I think playing with 5 players is a bit of a throw off initially. It's an entirely different communication field. It's a lot different to what I was expecting it to be. But overall, it was a lot of fun. My team was incredible. My team being Brewberry, Bill, Guff Sushi, and Brinks, as well as myself. It was just a funny team. You know, it's one of those teams where you can just kind of sit down. I'm definitely the polar bear in Arlington, Texas, on that team. Where I'm just kind of like, what am I doing there? But it made sense. The games itself, my one request in life, and I think where I'm gonna start putting a petition on Twitter every time I see a Biome Battle, can I just not play Arena in spring? I think Arena has been played in spring every single event I have played in, and I would just love to see a new kit. The only one it did get played for was Jingle Crafters, where it was forced to be winter, but if it wasn't forced, it probably still would have been spring. So, it's a really funny consistency that it keeps happening. I think a lot of the games this time were a lot more fun to how I played them before. Zap and Cap just continues to be my like #1 event game of all time. It's one of the most well determined. Also, from being a Call of Duty main, that is just how life goes there. I just love a good first person shooter, and I think everyone had a lot more fun, and the game was a lot more understood this time compared to last time I'd played it, where there's definitely still some confusion over Zap and Cap, but I think everyone's now understood how the game works, even the new people. I know Kambam got confused a few times, but that's just being new. You play your first event, you get a little bit scared. So it's a little bit fine there. Let me actually look at the games because I'm tweaking.
I'd like to say 5 teams is also way harder to make teams for.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, I could imagine.
Mudcrip has said, fun fact, Autumn Arena has never been played. Every other one has had playtime, meaning there's one kit we haven't seen since the first ever event.
Yeah, that makes sense. If you look at the main roster, we just refuse to change our game order. I think the game roster for main has been so just the same that you just catch me getting surprised when Sky Spleef was played in second half. But overall, I think the games were a lot of fun. I mean, 20th place is my second highest placement now for Biome Battle. Still haven't beaten the first Biome Battle I played, which really says something. Over time, but the event was a ton of fun. I think I finally understood Dungeon Dash. I think a lot of the changes were just really well done. There's still a game that I hate with a passion, and that game will continue to be Oppenslimer because I will never understand it and I will never get it. I swear I do well in that game every time, and then I see it and I finish 25th, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what I've done wrong, but I've done it. Runner's Rampage, the summer change. This is something I've spoken about. I love the Mario Kart Tour thing we're going for with Runner's Rampage, but can every map not have it? I think we are starting to hit a point where it's like a skulk infection. You're just gonna see like the oh, do you want to go this way? Oh, maybe you don't want to because it changes. I feel like we're gonna see that every single map. And I don't like that. I think keep having some variety between them is a lot more fun. I like the fact that it's summer and autumn that has it, but please just keep the winter map the same. The winter map is beautifully done. There needs to be no external path there. There is no point. I think the finale, the first round was fair, and then the second one you just beat up some poor person. It felt really mean. Jack Cass barking like a dog will stay in my mind forever, I think, as one of the most interesting finales noises I've ever seen. But other than that, I think there was some probably issues that was happening during the event. That is fine. It's an event. Please don't counterpoint. Just don't go through the barriers. You see, Some people can't do that. One of them was me last Biome Battle. But that's fine. I think Hungry Hungry Hoglins had some really good changes. I think something that suffers from Hungry Hungry Hoglins is just... I think we saw it for this event, where you can kind of just camp where they have to put the cakes, leading to just not being able to touch it. I know CC was within 3 blocks every single time when Jack shot him. So it was just a very unfortunate scenario to keep happening. But yeah, I think the event overall was just really well done. The game order was fun. There was a nice story. There was a lot of teams in the top 4 that were constantly fighting for the finale. I know my team was holding in there quite a few times up until we played Tastag, which just had an unfortunate Brinks disconnect, which couldn't be helped. But yeah, it was great. I consistently say Biome Battle is the one event you will catch me always signing up and trying to play. It's the one that, you know, I was there from the beginning and I want to keep being there. So, because I just have appreciation and I love Bit Squid. So, that guy's pretty cool. And I guess the team maker sometimes. But it's just a lot of fun.
Team next time.
I appreciate it. Okay, I'll appreciate. I will appreciate my sub bench. I think.
I also wanted to say you were also in the quiz live. How was that for you?
Oh God, I've been in a few things, haven't I?
Yeah,
Jesus.
you've had a busy weekend.
I've been around the place. But no, Quiz Live was also really fun. We broke a record on the Quiz Live for the longest tiebreaker in Quiz Live history because me and Artie are missing just could not get a question right. They couldn't see the light of day. It was really funny. The Quiz Live is one of those things that I've always kind of wanted to be on, and then getting to be on it was really fun. Happy does so much behind the scenes that I think needs a lot more credit.
Awesome. I know him, he's so cool. It's one of my favorite people I've met in this community. He's awesome, I love Happy.
Happy's amazing, and the stuff that he does for the Quiz Live is beautiful. I've never seen something so well produced for a live stream, which I think needs to be said as a live stream thing in general. That is insane that is done with so much pristine and like clean and polish. Like, it's insane. Raxton won. No, Raxton didn't win. Artie won that one after saying they weren't going to win at least 100 times. Well, that's my goat, so I'm glad they had fun. Block Shop was a disaster. If anyone watches that Quiz Live episode, just don't watch Block Shop. Me and Raxton are embarrassingly bad at that game, and it shows.
Well, before we go into the next question, I have a wonderful clip sent in from Jackass, so we're going to play that.
I think I know what this is.
Traumatizing.
Let me bring it up.
I have to rehear it now.
Uh,
Stays in my mind forever. This one.
I hadn't actually seen it at all. I can't lie until this. Let me. Gosh.
This is not the clip I was expecting.
Okay.
I'm gonna make it, Tom. I'm gonna make it. Go. 3, 2. I'm gonna get edged. No! I got edged.
Jackass getting edged there, everyone.
Jackass with the most beautiful phrasing in the event.
That is the phrasing. Jackass. Live on Blog Talk, you heard it here first. Jackass this weekend was edged.
That's what that's the title to the clip. It's literally.
Oh,
Oh no! My clip later is late.
Yeah, exactly.
What is awesome.
So with that team eventually winning Biome Battle, I have to ask: are more chaotic teams more likely to win? Especially with Cyan in MCC as well. It looks like something's coming up here.
I don't think. I think it's being looked at from the wrong direction.
Okay.
I don't think it's a sense of more chaotic teams. I think it's teams that have synergy with each other and very good synergy. But if you see it in all of the events, if there is a team that is 4 friends that hang out, most times they win because they are friends. They talk all the time, and that team is made up of some of the they hang out a lot. So I think yes, a chaotic team because that team was not going to be chaotic. It's got Katie Gilbert and Jack Cass in it at the same time. They separated me from my Pookies for this event. I still need to have a conversation about that, AJ. But that's okay. I'll forgive you this once. But I think as a whole, there is a lot of more fun with chaotic teams. I think, as we saw from the draft that me and AJ did, I do look for more chaotic and vibey teams that synergize well together, because that just makes better event content in general usually. But I think seeing the more chaotic and synergistic teams winning is just like we're letting friends team with friends, if that makes sense. We're finally letting like people who have been trying to duo with each other since like the lost tombs of Egypt, finally actually getting to team with each other, and I think that's really fun and leads to teams winning. I mean, a great example, shout out Creator Carnage. Creator Carnage 6, my team was myself, Boloon, Scotto AC, and K Venner. That is a team of people who talk to each other every single day of the week. We all love each other so much, and then when we won... Sorry. I forgot that was that event. Love you, AJ and Rose. But it was definitely one of those things where I think we're finally letting teams just team up with each other and have fun, and it's showing because they end up winning. Like that team did not go in to win, and then they won. So I think that's a great example of that.
Fair enough. Rice.
I'll be real. And this is gonna... Okay. Do I have permission to be a little bit mean? Like just a little bit.
Let's get dropped.
Okay.
Just a little bit mean. I think that the chaos thing only exists as a reason to make you get better. I think it's really not an actual fact in how good you do, unless you're in a weaker style event. And the reason I say that is I have been on crazy teams with peak chemistry, right? And we've fumbled horribly. Teams that are competitive on paper, that have good vibes. Yeah, it's difficult because I think in all those events, now I've made that point. I've also realized I think in every single one of those events there's a big lag issue. Now I'm saying out loud. So maybe I should have to retract that. I think that chaotic teams work in events where you're rewarded for playing a bit bombastically and taking people by surprise. I think it is really dependent on the games and the side people you play. That was like any event, but I think in some events, chaos will get you punished, right? There'll be people who are very patient, right? If you're playing an event where there's like 2 team PvP games and you're playing super aggressive, you'll get punished by a team. You can't just be like, oh, let's go get them. But I do think being chaotic for like in-div games in general is extremely useful. Because if you've got a bunch of people in your team that have no fear, they're going to be the ones farming points in spleef games. They're the ones that are going to be backing themselves and going for the harder paths when they really shouldn't, on paper, in race games. You know, I think chaotic teams work really, really well when they are playing well. The problem is if you've got a chaotic team that's doing bad, they're going to crash out. That is the one big deficit, I'd say, and you can't forget that. If you've got a really chaotic team, all it takes is one bad game. Because, like, yeah, okay, the Jackass team is very chaotic, but like when I think of pure chaos, all it takes is one bad headspace, and all of a sudden, that entire team's getting brought down because you'll rise to it. You'll be always high energy, but it doesn't mean it's positive energy, if that makes sense. Because I've seen so many chaotic teams that just begin being toxic. And I've seen that a lot. So, Biome Battle allows for that chaotic energy. I don't think that applies. And I think when we have these debates, I think it's really important to put Biome Battle in its own category because it is not a Minecraft event. Hear me out. I've spoken to the devs. It is an event hosted in Minecraft. It is an event that is meant to be playable by anyone. That's why you love it as a COD player, right? Because that game was not designed as a Minecraft game. I spoke to Dijon about it. The game was literally designed to be, we want this event that people can play regard if they're the surface level of Minecraft. Every other event is like, this is all about Minecraft. Whereas Biome Battle has a lot of Minecraft features, but it is fundamentally built to be enjoyed by anyone, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's
and that is what I was told.
It's got like
by the devs.
You are right there. Like there's Open Slime in it. There's you know, the race games can literally just be any, you know, race game out there. There's loads of games similar to that. Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about it being sort of outside. You know, there's certainly games that are Minecraft-esque, but
yeah, 100%. But compared to other events, no way.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Can I address comments as well? Do I
Yes,
have
yeah,
permission to?
go ahead, go ahead.
Okay. So you're right. I'd actually agree. The roster in the comp, I'd 100% agree.
This is from
Biome
Devon.
Battle's roster
It
does
doesn't feel
not
like it.
reflect. The Biome Battle does not reflect the event it is with its roster. In fact, I think I yapped to this. Weird enough with Ryan and Obi, Standard 05 and MC Big Mac players, the other day, who are very, very good event players, and therefore they have a very nuanced opinion on events like Biome Battle. But they actually said fundamentally that they don't think people like them should be in that event, because Biome Battle is the only event I have ever seen in my 4 years where you have basically curated, in both the mini and the main roster, weaker players that will make documents and strategize and pick apart every game, largely because BitSquid is a lovely human and likes to break down the games, but also as a detriment, because you've basically made a roster where you now have a opportunity as a weak player to do well, because strats and metas are important in every game other than obviously the race game and I guess the arena PvP. And therefore your top frags become a lot more blurred, right? There are people who are very good at Biome Battle, who are solid players, and they're the ones strategizing. I do think that if Biome Battle is to reflect the games in its roster, it needs to try and make it the games feel a bit less exploitable, because people have made so many docs now and broken down so many different strategies that you're basically being told, hey, if you're a weak player, this is the event that you can pop off in. And a lot of weak players eat that up, because why wouldn't you, right? It's your opportunity to subvert expectations. You can be the top player. But there's a reason why, and it does not take away from the performances of people like May, from the performances of people like Whitebox. They're very hard-working people who are on the weak side of the spectrum. But there is a fundamental reason why it's possible in Biome Battle and not possible in an event like Pandora's Box, or Chamber Trials, or Blissful, or even MCC, or even Block Wars, right? Across the spectrum, there is nothing that allows you to do what you can do in Biome Battle because of how the games are made, and I think that's because it's not that the roster's wrong. I actually think the attitude of the roster does not reflect the games in the event, and I think that is fair because people are so competitive in Biome Battle, like astronomically so. Biome Battle saying you can go in blind, I can tell you now. I went in blind I was drunk when I played Biome Battle, for context. I played it on my birthday, so maybe this is a nuanced thing. I had a... Oh, May raid. AJ,
Hi,
do your job.
May. Hello, thank you for the raid. Oh, raid of 29. How are you? How is your stream, May? Thank you very much for coming on in. May loves Biome Battle. True.
Oh, I know.
Biome Battle winner. With
Finally.
May.
I'm literally just talking about her as well. It's crazy.
Finally a winner. Yeah. Only took 3 times.
I will say just on the points that Rice made, I think it definitely helps coming from a perspective of the main roster. I do appreciate what you say. I think the difference we have here between like a PB roster, a Block Wars roster, and a Biome Battle roster is, I think what Biome Battle is aiming to do is definitely different from a lot of other rosters. I think the greatest example is you have people like me, Katie, May, and Pear who have been there from the beginning.
Yeah.
The original team, the Pink Pookies, who started Biome Battle 1 and consistently play. Doesn't really matter our skill level, it's because we just have the love and the passion for it, being there from day one. And I think what they're doing with the roster is interesting because there isn't like a lot of... I think Mud said this beautifully. There isn't a lot of first top frags or what the event scene describes or emphasizes as a top frag. Obviously, I started my event community like journey with Biome Battle, so I have a little bit. I think that's why I think AJ made a bit of an interesting choice choosing me first, because I think I definitely have a bit of a nuanced kind of look at the event scene, starting from a different place than a lot of people started.
So the perfect reason to choose you first, I think.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. But I look at the roster of Minis is different. I think Minis is definitely aiming towards these kind of like first frag, second frag, third frag kind of mentality when it comes to that event. But if you look at the main roster and you look at teams from Biome Battle 4, Biome Battle 3, stuff like that, stuff that obviously I've spoken to AJ before about team making and stuff like that. And you look at Biome Battle and you see the teams they make, and what they're doing with Biome Battle is they're introducing people that maybe don't pop off in games like Pandora's Box or Block Wars, which has been made and kind of is centered around these people who have been in the scene, like yourself, for 4 years, you said, Rice, who, you know, have the experience, have the wherewithal to do well in these events because they are trained. They've done it for as long as they have. But Biome Battle, what it does is it lets the people who maybe are a lot newer to the event scene, pit myself, Wadebox, only joining from Rising 2. You know, you've got the entirety of the Pink Pookies. You've got people that you probably don't see play many events like Martin and Littlewood. You have people who don't exactly go down to these different types of events. Lagundo is another great example. Thank you, Mud. Where these people can play the events and they can do well, not because it's a situation where, they were just third thrag in this event. It's because they've had less experience, but this is their experience. This is where they've started, which I think just also comes from fundamentally where you started in the event community. If you started with like your MCCs, your Pandora's boxes, you're going to be a completely different player than if you started with an MCC and a Biome Battle as a good like 2-4. And it means that like when people do pop off in Biome Battle, in my opinion, that's not surprising because people have understood this way of event making. But then if they go down to a Block Wars Origins and maybe they struggle for their first 2 events, that just comes from being in a completely different part of the event community or starting completely differently, in my opinion. But also, I just don't think first frags, second frags, and third frags matters in Biome Battle at all. AJX might disagree with me, obviously, from team making, but I think you can put anyone on any team in Biome Battle and they can do good. And it doesn't matter if they have less Minecraft experience or they have less technique. It just comes from how they enjoy the event. I think, obviously myself, I've always had a good time when I played Biome Battle, and that reflects in my performance. I always do good. I struggle in Op and Slime, let's just not talk about it. That usually sinks my endiv down. But like, you have these situations where you have people who understand the games fundamentally, and I'd argue that you know, you say that the roster have overanalyzed. I think you said like overanalyzed. They have docs and everything.
Very heavily in the mini. Very heavily
in the mini scene, it is, yeah. I would say that's probably different. In the mains, we have May's Biome Battle Bible,
Yeah,
but
I
I
know.
think that's like about it. And I think you can also tell that when they play the games too. Like it's. For example, Antfrost, right? Here's your stereotypical first frag. He finished 3rd in this event. Ogar and CC finishing 2nd and 1st. I think that just goes to show it doesn't matter where your frag placement is because you just have different art styles. No, you're not being attacked, trust me. I'm just more saying it's a different environment total. But I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Yeah. So I just want to say one point that you did mention at the main, and I do want to just nip this in the bud because you did mention about having different people and not in the event scene, and yet I will say there is a very clear trend between the top people still being most of the time. If your team is in the top half, the same people are still there. So the argument to say that the skill doesn't matter, you chuck people in the team, that just in my opinion is very unfair because you know there are good people. That there are people who specifically excel at Biome Battle, like CC, like Slushy, who in other still good players, but in other events aren't quite in that same echelon as say some other people, like say like a Pickles would be, or like a Brinks. Because I've got the all the teams up from last event in front of me from the main roster, and there are a few people I'm like, oh yeah, wow, I wouldn't expect some of these people in, but there are so many people in here that I'm like, this could be a Block Wars team, or this could be like in X event here, because obviously it's still the event community. And I think Biome Battle does this thing where it's not, in my opinion, about players specifically being incapable elsewhere, or players specifically being, oh, anyone could do well, it's about your attitude. I think there are just some people who are geared more to the style of Biome Battle specifically, because it's so different. I don't actually think it's got as much to do with anyone could do well, because if anyone could do well, I've seen so many people care about Biome Battle because it is fundamentally the most exciting, polished event in the event scene right now. I'm saying to someone who works for Capella Media, who obviously run Block Wars. It is, in terms of its polish and it being new and the things it's trying to do, we have not seen it. I'm excited. Someone who loves events, I'm excited. Is it an event that I look at and I personally go, this is made for someone like me, who maybe mechanically is all I really sweat? Probably not, but doesn't mean it doesn't entertain me. It's not something that I would want to take part in. It just means I'd be worse at it, right? Because I'm not what this event is designed for. I think it is cool for that reason. I just do think that I look at Biome Battle and I think it's made for a Martin in the Littlewood. That's what I feel as a viewer. I think it's built for that. You know, there are all these complaints about rosters becoming too samey, and in most times I feel like it's unfair because those events are similar. You know, a lot of times these rosters reflect the players they're trying to get in. Biome Battle does stick out. You know, that green team last event is something like out of a fever dream, a good fever dream that people would want to see, right? And Biome Battle is giving that. And you are bringing these creators into a light where you're seeing some quite exciting teams. I do think the skill ceiling of Biome Battle is more random because the games are different. I think I saw someone in chat mention that, actually. It's part of the reason why I was going to mention this. I don't know, I would have touched this very briefly. It's why I think Biome Battle being on the ELO sheet is insane. Because I think that being on the ELO sheet defeats the entire point of what Biome Battle should be. As the viewer, I get the vibe that Biome Battle isn't meant to be something that people are looking at as a competition of the best. Or which is what most of the ELO sheet is used for, by the way. And it's a very flawed sheet, but I've seen lots of Biome Battle players talk about their ELO from the event. A surprising amount of Biome Battle players in both rosters, and I think that is important to bring up because people care very vehemently about how they do in Biome Battle. And I think that's okay, but to a point that it reflects your general skill is a bit more difficult because I'm a nerd. I love stats. I love seeing who the best people are. And I think Biome Battle should be considered its separate thing. I don't think event elo should exist in general, to be honest, but I think Biome Battle is so fundamentally different. It is wrong. Take. Yeah, Arrow's right. Arrow's right. 100%. But I think you should be able to separate and segment Biome Battle as like, this is its own thing. People can, and I don't think it's the only event that applies to this, by the way. There's a couple of events I should like be put in its own. It's doing its own thing. Please don't take it as seriously. And people can try. Don't get me wrong. I just think there is this idea of scaling, and you talk about how people work in frags and how anyone could be different positions and maybe not align with team making. But if that's the case, you could have that. You could have a team be extremely weak. And I think Biome Battle would still be fun. I think it's the only event I'd actually say would still be fun if your team was not that strong. I would actually wager that. I think it's probably the only event where I'd say that.
Yeah,
I hope that was the case for Green Team.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, you go.
No, go ahead. Okay, so I think Biome Battle definitely falls, and this can be discussed as well. AJ's like grinning from it, where he's like, "My debate style's working."
I'm doing nothing right now. It's great.
I think
he's figured it out. He's figured out how to not work for 2 hours on his own stream.
He's done a great job there, Jesus. Surprised I'm not co-host.
I have something to say. I have something to say, but I'll let you go. I'll let you respond.
I think Biome Battle in itself falls in a similar place, and you can disagree or agree with me. That is completely fine. I think Biome Battle to me falls in a similar place to PB Dragon Pit, where it is trying to do something else, and it doesn't really get put in the same limelight as every other event, in my opinion. AJ, do your job.
Hi, Portal. Thank you so much for the raid. Thank you, Portal.
That's what we were saying.
Hope you had a good stream.
I think it does get put in the same level to me. And I think maybe, depending on how you look at roster management, I definitely think you could put Chamber Trials in the same kind of place. They're not trying to be your stereotypical Minecraft event. They're not trying to be something that you just do your 8 games and then you piss off to the finale and then you leave after that. It's trying to be a same, like, this is why I'm going to put PB Dragon Pit and Biome Battle in the same. It's trying to be a cinematic experience and a great story overall, I think, is what the two events do. PB Dragon Pit, I have had a lot of people say, is one of the best events they've ever seen. And when you see the style and the kind of placement that they do with PB Dragon Pit, it is an arguably incredible experience from beginning to end, and I think that's what Biome Battle is also trying to replicate, just without the lore kind of stuff that Dragon Pit did. I think having them both be in the same limelight, you know, obviously Dragon Pit has the same games as regular PB, but just the way everything is performed and like the grandiose of everything. I think that's one of the main things I love about Biome Battle is the Biome Battle starting thing, like where you see the teams and all of that. It has just this grandiose
That's
to it,
where
where
I
it
fell
is
in
like
love with it in the first event.
you realize that what you are doing in this is not your stereotypical Minecraft event. It is an experience that you are taking part in at the same time. Sure, you're playing your arena PvP and your dungeon dungeon explorer, but everything, it doesn't feel that way. It feels like you are progressing through this story that goes beat by beat by beat that you are choosing. And I think for the event scene, that is an absolute breath of fresh air, because I think unfortunately it does suffer, and this comes from someone who didn't start in the stereotypical way that a lot of people started 4 years ago or like 3 years ago. I started with Biome Battle and Rising, so I'm a bit like my opinion and experience is a little bit different, so I apologize if this is a controversial opinion coming from me, but I just think having something like Biome Battle tells the event community as a whole, you can have the same format but feel 10 times different. I think new events, when they're coming into the scene now, it just feels like we are grabbing the copy and paste button and doing the same kind of presentation and stuff, which happens, but Biome Battle is proof that you can, from the get-go, provide a different look, experience, and feel than what other events do. Which I think is why people say you have to put Biome Battle separately to everything else and not consider it or compare it to other events. Because in realistic terms, you cannot. If you say, oh, let's compare Biome Battle and MCC, that's an impossible comparison. Because it's two completely different things. If you say, let's do that and Block Wars, again, it's the same thing. It stands out on its own, and I think a lot of people I know have said that this is an event in their mind that shows the event community that we can do stuff different. Obviously, having the same events do the same things like the 8-game minigame, 6-game minigame stuff is still good, but Biome Battle, in my opinion, is showing that we can have a different style of event and it can still be comp, because Biome Battle is still very comp. Biome Battle 4 is a great example of a comp event done where it didn't feel too comp. Apart from our team just making fun of Funny Wars. But you know, that's something that couldn't be controlled, unfortunately. But I appreciate what you said about Biome Battle and it being very different, and I do agree with you there. I just think it is also something I guess people see from a different microscope depending on where they started. I would say.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely liked it. I think Biome Battle. I want to mention clicks as well. Especially with their last event, the cinematic part of it definitely does excite me. Sort of making events feel like something more. I mean, MCC did it with Twitch Rivals in Europe this year. Colour the World, that's what it's called. But yeah, I can't say much more. I can't say much in terms of the actual creation of the games or anything like that. I get no information on that. I can't say with the roster. The one thing I always think is that BitSquid is very interested in. BitSquid said in the Inside MC podcast that he would love Tubbo to be in the roster. Right, that's his dream person. So I quite often think, what would Tubbo like the teams to be, and go from there. Which sounds confusing, but I think definitely has some thought behind it. Anyway, we are going to move on now, which might create another debate because we have Skylar's question. Which is, what is needed in a quintessential event more than anything else? Game design, presentation, the roster, etc. I think this is the perfect question after talking about that. So yeah, shall we start with Rice?
Okay. That is a loaded question.
It is.
Okay. I'm actually I pulled up something for this guy. I knew this was coming up. Okay. So Are we okay? Am I saying this from what I personally want, or what I think objectively is the most important? Because they're actually two different answers.
Personally.
Okay. Personally, I've played it in like so many different events now, and I'm at a point where I love meeting people as much as the next guy, but I'm also aware of how risky that can be. So I would actually say I think game design is the most important for me to enjoy events, because I get fortunate enough to play a lot of them, and because I'm also a very competitive player, even when I'm playing more relaxed, if I'm going to a game I know it's fundamentally flawed against my team composition, or there is something that is just not working as intended, but or that the way it's being played is easily abusable and exploitable, the whole event falls apart for me. I think the designing of your games is imperative to how you want your event to feel and be played and enjoyed. The most important thing is when you make an event, you want people to enjoy them. And if you make a game that is not fun to watch or play, what's the point in having an event? You put all this time into it. If your game design is not enjoyable for at least one of the stakeholders for your community, it essentially just makes the entire event pointless, because your game. And I'm not saying it needs to be perfect, but if it's like, oh, we need this game, need that game, need that game, you need to have a vision for your event, right? There are so many events that do the same things, similar things, but they're all still enjoyable to an extent because they have an idea that they want to be an event that follows the traditional MCC format with like the teams of four. You need to have an idea. So I'd actually say probably what you want your event to be, what your end goal, the vision. That's a good idea. The actual vision is probably the most important thing, but that isn't even possible to even get to that point if you don't have good game design. Because game design gets people coming back to your event. Game design gets people watching your event. Game design gets you to your next event because people want to play it again. You don't get to live out your vision unless you have good game design. What do I think is most important in general for growth? I would actually say presentation. Because if your event got the best game design ever, if it looks dull, and this has happened, I've seen good events, if it looks really dull, it doesn't stand out in any way, you don't present a vision, it's not going to grow. So, although I don't think it's actually the most important thing, Biome Battle is incredible. Would it have taken off if it didn't have the presentation it does to this degree? Probably not, because presentation affects how things feel in game as well. It's not just the design of it. Presentation in terms of how things look, in terms of like the models, in terms of the design, that presentation of your games carries it. I've seen great events that are either like have unfinished builds or maps and therefore lose traction. So I would actually wager that presentation is extremely important for growth, but beyond anything, your event's got to be fun, man. Because if you don't want to play it, how can you expect anyone to want to play it? And let alone watch it. Your game's got to be fun. So if you can make games that are, enjoyable, that's your vision for them to be fun, then you've done your job. If you want to make games that are competitive because you want them to be competed on and they are good, really concise and specific ways to play them and different strategies because they're all about min-maxing points, then you've done your job. That's say Chamber Trials is trying to work that out at the moment, for an example. But fitting your vision, you need good game design. Otherwise, your event will never, ever get anywhere, unfortunately. You can obviously make mistakes and you can learn, but game design will be what takes you to the next level. I love designing event games, if you couldn't tell.
Liam, you beautiful boy. What do you think?
Well, okay. I must admit I was fixing my headset, so I didn't hear the question, but I have just pulled it up. I'd say it's definitely it's a hard question to have one solid answer. Is definitely something I would say. I think every single thing that you've mentioned, I agree with Bryce. This is a really goddamn loaded question. And the instinct for being like, because you've got to look at it from so many different places. And again, I think it's the really funny thing, and it's something I've said ever since I've joined the event scene. I think I definitely have a different view that people either agree with or just go, Liam, what the. Like, it's a bit of a confusing one. But if you ask me where I would start, what is needed more than anything, I think Rice said it perfectly. Game design is your just absolute. You have to have interesting and games that are compelling. Because my issue is, you have to have something. When you go to a voting arena and you want to vote for something, the last thing you want to hear your players ever say is, "Oh, let's just get this one out of the way." Like, that is the last thing you want to hear as someone who makes any form of game design that is like a stab to your heart, or I think we can skip this one. Like, stuff like that. You just don't want that to ever be said about your game mode, unless it's in like a, "Oh, let's get this out first because I love it." That kind of attitude is fine. But if you hear people say like, "Oh God, Jesus Christ," okay, let's just do this one. Sorry, Jules, it's eruption. I will always call it eruption. Jules knows it. This from me. I will always call it eruption.
Love eruption.
But I think game design in general is one of those things where if you don't have that built from the start, the name of your event and who you have does not matter. Because at the end of the day, you can have someone like a Tubbo, but if Tubbo sits there and just like looks at all the games and doesn't know what to do or just doesn't care, then that completes an entirely different thing. I think after you've got the game design down, again, I think me and Rice this is the most you'll hear me and Rice agree apparently from this one. I think the next one is presentation.
Agreed on a lot of things.
Yeah.
Agreed on a lot of things today. It's just
we've done pretty well. I think game design, after you've done that, I do think presentation is your next thing. Because, and I've said this about so many things, and it's why I am very hyper positive, and you hear me mention the Bedrock community and like the Bedrock event scene quite a lot, is because the presentation that they have is so vast and intriguing that it moves it. One of the best events I've ever played isn't even a Java event. It's Wamukata from Bedrock, where the presentation is off the charts. It is incredible what Wamukata do on the Bedrock like space. But I also just think, look at it this way, right? And this is in no way meaning to be hateful to any offense or anything. This is just my opinion, and it's just something that I think is... If I sit there and see on the right side of my screen the name of the event, the game I'm playing, game 1 of 6, the leaderboard, and everything on the right-hand side of the screen, I feel like I am definitely playing Deja Vu every single event I play. It's like the same format, same font, different color. Like, it's something like that, if you get what I mean, where it's like, presentation for me is that important because I feel samey when I play some of the same events, because it's just like, there it's on the right side of the screen. I see everything there. It's done. That's why I like MCBC and Wamukata, because they put them to the top of the screen with like the team icons, which I think is definitely an interesting thing to do. Obviously, it's different on Java, I understand. But also just the presentation in general of the event. I think having MCC, Biome Battle, and I'm forgetting the name of the event. Block Wars is a great example where the start of the event feels like you are entering the like behemoth of your career. You're like, yes, this is happening. There's fireworks everywhere. Clicks Games does an incredible version of it with the portal and going into the portal. I think that's an incredible example of presentation done fantastically. And also, Clicks Games just deserves a shout out in general. By the way, we won't talk about it a lot probably on this because there's not been an event for a while, but the stuff that they're doing at the moment is really good. I love what they're doing. But I would say presentation is definitely your second most important. Then if I'm looking, and I'll try not to yap for any longer, the third is it definitely is your roster, which is your third most important. It falls below because like me and Rice have both said, if you don't have a game that's compelling or interesting and your presentation doesn't work, it truly doesn't matter who you have in that roster. Nothing's going to save a sinking ship. Like you can have them going to, like, hi Twiggy. I would say the roster is third, but also it just depends on the roster in general. Are you going for a more for fun roster or a competitive roster, or are you just going for a middle of the road, a nice mix in between? I know AJX might be able to touch some light on this if you would like to, AJ. It's after I've yapped my life away. But I think roster is something you look at last, but has the same level of joy and charisma as the rest of the presentation and the game design in my mind. Sorry if anyone hates me now for my responses here. But I'm chilling. I'm chilling. I'm gonna have ops on my door.
I was gonna say, you mentioned roster there. I usually actually figure out a roster based on what the event wants, right? It's very much about his personality, about his presentation, is how I will like try and figure out an event roster. I go in and I ask an event, what is your event? What makes it unique? And from there you can basically figure out, what the branding is of the event and basically what the roster should be. So I think that's definitely a good point. Most events never want rice.
Oh, rice in real time. Why is bro catching straight?
I know it's a dumb bit as well because like I play in too many events. I got asked by an event host like after they got me to the event like, damn, wait a minute, are you sure we should be giving this spot to you because you like are constantly playing something? I'm like, okay, I love this community, man. What do you want from me?
Right. So with that, were you done, Liam, or did I cut through you?
I was done.
Okay,
Though,
good,
right?
good. I'm glad. With that being said, it's time to go to Chamber Trials, which was won by the Swift Striders of Hacking Noises, 4C, Silver Runs, and President Poundcake. We do have someone that was also in Chamber Trials, being Rice in real time. Rice, how was your experience of Chamber Trials and everything in between?
Turbulent, cinematic, emotional. Where do I begin? Chamber Trials is like, for me, the closest thing I felt since PB when I got to play Pandora's Box. And that, of course, was for no reason in particular, probably my favorite event I played, like, based on, like, purely playing it in the games, favorite event of all time. Now, Twiggy, I'm gonna glaze, but what's to be objective? I like Chamber Trials because I got to team with two IRL friends, being Legal and Neh. I get to go visit them a lot. We hang out a lot in person. We go drinking and clubbing together. Lovely people. And getting to team with IRLs is a different kind of fun, especially when the team is actually somewhat competitive. We were joined by the lovely Alexis, who was an honorary American. We made our entire team around England football kits, only to play Chamber Trials' version of football and have it be our worst game. We were challenging for finale until the last game, played football, and it all went downhill. But I've got to be real, Edgy. You have to stop me at some point. I'll go. Do you want me just to cover like the bits I really enjoyed?
Yes.
Because I love this event.
Cover the bits you really enjoyed.
Okay. So I love playing with Legal because those who don't know Legal's a retired PvPer and he is a semi-pro block hockey player who now manages a team, which is a surprisingly big thing in the Minecraft community. Is block sports, but it's the only event he's in with me. I've known him for years, and playing with him is always a nice privilege because I've been very fortunate to connect to a lot of people. He's someone who isn't really into that side of the community anymore, so getting to play with him in any event, especially one that's well put together and given as much love as Chamber Trials, is always an honor. It has a lot of potential to grow. I think Chamber Trials' biggest strength is it is willing to learn, adapt, and make a more competitive game roster. Golf, I do glaze it, and I'm going to glaze it. It is my favorite team game I've ever played, and that includes Grid Runners. I'm saying that. It's way too simple, but when you have a roster that has 18 S tiers in it, and you have this game that they fumble at. I team with Brinks, and he was the worst person on our team at that game. Brinks, worst person on our team at a game. Let me say that again. It is a crazy equalizer. Golf is so funny because it seems like it shouldn't be as stressful when it should bore people. It's not. It is stressful, and it's very, very fun. Chamber Trolls definitely has some nuances and some of the stuff it's trying to make competitive gameplay. The soccer, as much as I hate to call it that, football. It definitely needs some work around ping, but it's innovative at least. It's trying to be different while keeping the competitive vibe. So, I don't know. I feel like when you are making a new event this competitive, it's got the roster right. It's moving the roster in the right direction, and getting players like Wobdub in like 28th is just insane. but that's because it's making a comp roster. It's very team focused as well. It's not about your indiv. So I very much like Chamber Trials. I've got to get a very cool clip with Legal, which made me very, very happy because he doesn't get to play much, and anything with him is always special to me. And, you know, I got to enjoy golf. So to be honest, I don't really care when my team finished. I low-key would just show up for golf alone. I'm not going to lie to you. I love golf.
I completely agree with Scotto. I love how it's such a high comp, and then they have golf and soccer. It's so amazing.
Oh my god, I love Scotto. Is it?
Yeah, me too.
What a
Right,
guy.
it's time to see a certain clip from Rice in Real Time for the event.
Yes!
I still can't believe you got this put in as well. That's insane to me.
I can't believe I don't know why you allowed this. AJ was like, "Oh, it's really funny. Let's include this." I was like, "I've got more normal clips than nah. This is the one."
Here we go.
I died, man.
That's the second time I've killed someone in like that after.
Nice!
Nice, just a beat.
Come on!
I love mosh pits. It's like got Jackass or no one's hitting me.
Yeah. Come on, let's keep going.
Let me get the grenade. Give me. Oh, put it back. Lay it back on me. Lay it back on me. Lay it back on me. Oh, we're gonna win the World Cup.
As Twiggy said, it should have been me.
I'm baffled every time I see that clip. Like, it's amazing.
Beautiful, beautiful. We now go to something like Amy's question.
Yeah, great way to transition, AJ.
Just gotta get on with it. Something like Amy asks, what external game / sport would you like to see as an event game?
Oh.
I can answer this straight away.
Go for it, AJ.
I want to see F1. I don't want it just to be an event game though. I want just like Ace Race or Runner's Rampage, but for like 50 laps. That's what I
My
want.
dumbass literally said dodgeball. Dodgeball. That's like. Wait.
Twiggy say money in the bank is iconic.
Wait, yo, hold on. He's cooking.
Not
Royal
surprised.
Rumble.
Have you seen that, man? Oy. Guys, if you want to know, genuinely, give me water polo. I think water polo it's just dope.
Yeah, no. I was. Yeah.
No, that's not my genuine answer. But like...
No, boys, man, you do your.
Nah, just it's actually a weird one, but I think it genuinely would work. I think something like baseball or like cricket, it would actually be really interesting. I don't know how you do it, but I think stuff like that. It's just a really interesting concept. I mean, I could say basketball, but I think basketball you'd just be doing what like football's doing in Chamber Trials.
That's my exact thing. I thought basketball first too.
Hockey would also be cool.
Well, have I got a mini game server for you? Because hockey is cool. Hockey is cool. There's a lot of variants for it. There's a lot of ones that exist, but in terms of being an event game, I think that's what's important. Because a lot of these exist. You can find like block sports everywhere. Like there's block lacrosse, which is really popular. Like, I don't know. I think I'm biased to block hockey because I actually think it is really fun and it is like a thing that is played and with 4 people. So I think it would work very well. There's a boring answer. I want to say something quirky. Like, like Gaelic football or something, But I don't know. It's a tough question. It's the first question today where apart from like hockey, I actually can't think of anything.
I'm just saying frisbee. Sorry, my bad.
It should be.
I think you gotta look at like you gotta look at shot put or something like that. I think look at the Olympic Games. Weirdly, I think look at anything from the Olympics. Maybe that would be funny. I know I've seen a lot of people recreate jousting, but I actually think jousting as an event game would also be really fun.
Wait, triathlon.
Yeah,
Triathlon's
that'd
a
be
shout.
peak.
That's a
oh,
shout.
that's gotta be.
How would you do the cycling?
Wasn't that just rapid races?
Wait, no. Oh, okay. Well. Okay. Well.
Let's see that.
Okay. I like Rap Race is my favorite race game. So. No. Wait. Did you say? That's Ground Quest. I don't know about like that event, unfortunately. Marathon. Oh, okay. Well, it's different. My vision would be better.
That event's dead anyway. Well, with that all done, we're going to go into some bonus questions, and we start with a weekly feature. Every time we're going to have a guest on, we're going to ask them their dream event team. Now, of course, Liam's is pretty obvious, being the Pink Pookies. So I'm gonna say that you have to make your dream event team without the Pink Pookies in it.
Well, no. See, the difference is
You're
that
allowed to be in it.
I would have been held at gunpoint with May just staring at me. So I think that's the difference there. Weirdly, the Pookies isn't a dream team for me because I've done it.
That is fair.
So,
That
like-
is very fair. Yes.
Like I've done it and I know it's iconic. That's the difference. Can I include like is it like including myself in it or
Yes.
just like in general?
Yes.
Oh,
yourself
okay.
in it.
Okay. Ooh.
And it
That's
could
actually
be
really hard.
anyone in the entire event community.
We do love the Pink Pookies. Clearly Rice in real time. I'm not pressured at all there. I think my dream team, and this is just a team I've always wanted to make, but unfortunately it is just something you cannot get, and it's something I always have wanted to run, is me, Nominal Gravy, Forsey, and Phase Ray.
Ooh.
I think would be one of my favorite teams of all time. It would absolutely murder any event it was put in. But if you ask me, like, if I had to like kind of balance it, I would also definitely put another team that I had in mind. See, it's more funny to me because I don't bring up like the bigger streamers because I think that's just I want to. My dream team is people I can team with at the moment. I feel like if I said Tubbo, I'd be like, okay, so let me get into Block Wars real quick. Like, let me throw myself over there. Last in Chamber, you're so correct. Also, you didn't let me speak on Chamber. That was a good decision, AJX.
Oh.
I don't think.
Oh, no.
I have opinions.
Maybe
but,
another time.
maybe another time.
That would be a debate. That would be a good debate.
That would be a good debate. I think if I had to balance my team, it would be. And I'm also just going to shout out a team I've done before that I can't shout out, but Block Wars Brawl, that team.
Yes, of
that
course.
team was also peak for me. But I think for like a balanced perspective, my favorite team that I could make would be probably myself, May because May and Katie. Usually I just throw in my teams anyway, but for this I'll put Katie. And then my first and second frags, I think at this point I've never teamed with Apo. I want to team with Apo at some point. So I definitely have me, Katie, Apo, Cherryfire as I think another team that I think would be just a really funny team. It's not balanced again, but I'm struggling to balance at the moment. But I think those two are like
no need to bounce. No need to bounce.
yeah. I think those two are my top two dream teams of all time.
Oh, fair enough. Fair
so-
enough. Right, going into Zingzi's question, which is a very good one. We have name an event outside of the big three, being MCC, Pandora's Box, and Block Wars, that you are dying to play that you haven't played before. Now, I am going to actually have to ask you both to go here because I'm really struggling to figure out an
Rice,
event.
Is there an event you've not played in, Rice?
I genuinely now, I've actually, the only big events I've not played are MCC and Mayhem, which is actually
Yeah.
crazy.
I was just thinking about that. I feel like I've seen you in every event.
And technically, I had 2 opportunities to play an MCC totally legally, Nox Crew, which I didn't do because I have much respect. But yeah, do you want to go first on this one? Because it's difficult here because Mayhem's the only one that sticks out to me that I haven't played.
Well, yeah, I
I
think
can't say that. It's a big three.
one of my answers would have been Mayhem. I feel like I've played a lot of the like current event scene events.
Ah.
One that I will just say that I think I will at least play once. Major shout out to MC Mania Party. If that when that debuts, I think that is something I'm intrigued, but I wouldn't say like I'm yippee. Like I'm more just excited to see what they've come up with. But other than that, looking at it from like a bit of a different
I think you just leaked
perspective.
something. I can't lie.
Did I leak something? Oh, that's okay.
I didn't catch that, so like if I didn't catch it, it's probably fine.
I almost leaked something as well.
No, I haven't. Okay, I'm safe. I'm safe.
Good.
Yeah,
Okay,
just on
you're
you,
safe,
Ajax.
you're
Don't
safe.
give me an
Right,
anxiety
right.
attack on live on podcast. Yeah. See, exactly, AJ, you bully. But I think is there an event I'm like really like dying to play? See, that's the thing. It's a bit of a hard question for me as someone who is moving out of the event scene again and going more towards the SMP scene. Again, after being in the event scene for the last year. It's a hard one to say if there's a specific one. One that I have looked at that's definitely interesting. Is Pandora's Box counted in the big three?
Yes.
Yes.
Sadly.
Okay, so not PB. I would definitely say Cube Championship does look interesting. I watched Kel play it, and the games do look pretty cool. I would say that's one that I could see myself going, oh, like if they invited me to do one, I would play it. But I think there's one I want to play one more time and let me have it. Is Chamber. I played it once in a subathon version, and I need to experience it one more time, just so I can play football and golf.
God, that's subathon
So I'm a bit biased there.
version.
and Rose can yippee now.
For me, I'm just going to get some brownie points quickly. I'm going to set
go on.
Knockout and Cube Championships, obviously.
Chazagram Showdown.
Oh well, none of us could ever play that. Yeah, I never did play Showdown. It would be Showdown. I never did play Showdown, sadly. But it is delayed. It is deleted.
What Showdown?
So I am aware all the code is gone. So yeah, never get to play that.
It broke my heart.
Broke your
Genuinely.
heart. I never got to play it. Not just
Minecraft
one
Showdown
of
is
my
my
best
Roman Empire.
friends.
But aside from the literal Roman Empire, Minecraft Showdown is my Roman Empire. Like,
It's fine.
did you not get me started there?
He replaced it with the chase. So it's okay.
All will be forgiven if I get to be the dragon on the chase.
Real.
Telegram.
Chazagram, if you're hearing this.
I want to quickly say, I think Mayhem is way too easy a pick, but I would kill to play at it. I think I think the game roster, it feels too cheap, but it's the game roster is just incredible. The game roster is literally just incredible. When you say event to play, does it have to be like a tournament event?
No.
Okay, then I would like to give a shout out to Rave Station, and I would love to play play the new iteration of Apocalypse. So I was fortunate enough to play in the original Apocalypse, which is a semi-hardcore series where basically one person starts off as infected sometimes, or in the other series they had it be that if you die, you become infected, you get powers, you can respawn, and then there's multiple like cinematic endings and cutscenes you can get by surviving multiple weeks when you stream. And you have to like survive, you have to fight off the waves of infected that are played by real players who've died. And I think that was so cool. And I've only gotten to test since the first year because I was told I was too strong. And that made me really sad because I had so much fun in that first year. And yeah, Rave Station projects are incredible. I'll be flat out. They're so incredible. Also, if not, the chase. I'm not even joking. The chase. I think it'd be so funny. Dead serious. I've been so fortunate playing so many events. I would like to play more different events because I'm very spoiled. And I like game shows because I got to play in Trading Post and that was great.
Right, on to our last question, which is from Mudcrip. Now we're going to do it slightly differently. Mudcrip has asked, who is your Mount Rushmore of event players and why? Now I want to do this so that we have different answers. I want to do this as a draft, basically. So I want to give out a shout out to 12 people rather than just 4 because I'm sure we'd probably agree around about on the same 4. So we are going to start
with Max, and with Max.
Yeah, exactly. We are going to start with Liam because well, no, I think you deserve. You're our guest. You should get the first pick, and then we're going to go Rice, and then it's going to go snake formation. So double me, Rice, double Liam, Rice, double me, Rice, Liam. There you go.
Wait, so I just get them like less? Well, what's going on here?
No, that's how snake formation works. You're still getting them the same amount.
Yeah, okay, but I get less
goes
frequent,
twice
right?
in a row.
No, you're still getting the same. You just don't go twice in a row.
Okay, I don't care.
Basically makes it more
I-
even. Trust me, snake formation is perfect.
I'm too dumb for this, chat. I can't. Maths is killing me.
Right, Liam.
I got math there.
Go ahead.
I mean,
with
but
your first.
In my mind, any Mount Rushmore of the event scene isn't a Mount Rushmore without Technoblade, so I'm taking that on my first.
He's only gonna take it like the guarantee.
It's the guarantee.
That man is just always gonna be on there. He's never gonna be off there.
This is the exact reason I was like, okay, we have to do something different because we're all just going to say Technoblade.
Techno, yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
He is the event scene.
He's
He's Minecraft content creation.
Yeah.
Big shout out.
Not Liam. Rice, you go ahead.
I'm gonna say Colossum, actually.
Ah.
I'm gonna say that he is synonymous now. If you could talk about the people that represent the event community, who else to represent what has grown into a huge conglomerate now, which is the competitive side of the event scene, than the best player in the world. I'm not here to glaze him. I'm frustrated enough playing against him in events, and he gets good teams he doesn't need. But I feel like talking Mount Rushmore, he resembles that part of the community by being the best. And he's also a nice guy, annoyingly. It's really difficult. It's really frustrating. I wish he was a knob because he's that good at the game and a good person to be around. So
Fair enough. I can't help but agree there. I'm going to go with a trick one. I'm going to go firstly with Smager. You know, I think he revolutionised the event scene. He brought it to the masses. And also he is technically got the most MCC wins. Granted, he does make the teams for it, so a bit dodgy there. And then I'm also going to go with Fire Breath Man because I just think he's won literally every event there is. And you know, he's an icon. If you took Technoblade, I was always going to go Fire Breath Man as Techno Sensei, so it has to be.
I knew that, and so I went for Kel.
It's you again, Rice.
Oh, okay. So we're talking about, for me, Mount Rushmore should be about representing the different parts of the community that make it tick. I know you took Smager, because it kind of ruins my formation a bit, but I would actually say Wadebox.
Fair enough.
And I'm very biased, you know.
The chat.
Oh, wow, I didn't actually see him. That's crazy. So my logic for Wade actually is I've seen this man for years. He's been my inspiration before he started getting the attention in the Minecraft scene. He's very talented. He works harder than anyone I know in this community, considering what he does for his job. And he's always been about making a show, which in terms of actual event content, we hadn't actually seen that on a proper scale until something like Dragon's Pit, right? That, to me, was a show. And Wade tries to make even the most common competitive events a show. He runs a story. And if you don't know me, I run a storyline into every single one of my events. I will talk about it, whether it be, you know, underdog storylines, about the fact that I still haven't won a finale in 4 years.
That's why you were the
know,
bridesmaid.
that's why I was the bridesmaid, that's what a bit controversial. But things like that. Storylines to me is what makes events more. Because, sure, you can be a good competitive team, but why should I watch you more than someone else? All right, that's always a thing. It's a very, very competitive industry, right, for getting viewership. And to stand out and make things entertaining, I do think, you know, putting yourself out there and telling a story is equally important to just playing in the event. And Wade was my inspiration for that. Always was. And I feel that the biggest thing when it comes to someone like Wadebox is he is now a active commentator. He works and helps develop some stuff. He's got his own team staff like behind doors. he is incredible, and he gets involved himself in every aspect, and I think he is the perfect epitome of what an event player should be. He's so adaptable, he is so hardworking, and he resembles everything good about people that are specifically trying to create content in this scene. And I want to say, and I'm not saying this because he's my friend, a close second was actually Twiggy, because he's the only person I know in the event scene who actually pushes out event YouTube content that is based off story, based off telling an idea and building things up and communicating it. Most people just stream because that's considered too easy. But that was a close second. I just think everyone would agree Wade's probably more involved in the broader side of content than just YouTube. But that's my second. I love Wade.
Liam, you get 2 now.
Yes, I do. Also, Rice, your mic might have unplugged. I don't know what happened there. You just went really echoey all of a sudden.
Oh, my bad. Let me try this.
I didn't really notice you. I think just Rice got more.
I don't know if it's because he got really close and then far away.
I'm really passionate when it comes to people that
Okay,
I look up to. Wade's my biggest inspiration.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up Wade. I'm gonna bring up another dad of the Minecraft event industry. I'm gonna bring Lagundo into my Mount Rushmore, mainly just because of recent things. I think, and I'm a bit biased as someone who runs Leg.gg social media, but I think the current stuff we're doing with Leg.gg and like the event scene. Whether that be Flyer Frenzy, which is like I would say one of the most interesting changes of events in recent years, where it's just one thing for 2 hours, and also with other stuff that's coming up that I can't talk about, because trust me, I'll get yelled at. So I'm not gonna try and get told off. But like everything that's being done by both, Lagundo, myself, any person who works on Leg.gg, and like those types of events, I think Lagundo is trying to foster a different type of event where it's not an 8-game mini game. It's a 1 game, 2 hours, and you are entertained for the entire 2. Like, I know there was a lot of positive feedback with Flare Frenzy when we ran it last month, I believe it was. No, in May. In May or April. It was one of the times. I don't remember when we've run it. It feels like a while ago. But I would say, for me, Lagundo hits that point of just like, he is revolutionizing. And every time he goes into events with just a smile on his face and something ready to go. Like, he is always just so welcoming to the event community. He is just so giddy and wholesome towards it. To where I think, when someone approaches it like that, you just can't help but infectiously join along. And I think Lagundo does that incredibly well. My third one... Oh, I'm actually going to need a second to think on this one. Let me think. Rice, do you want to choose your third? Your third whilst I think? Because low-key my brain is fried. I need to do some thinking.
I forgot about the part where I'm meant to be thinking of a third. I'll be so honest with you. I was like, oh, this is really fun. And I was like, I'm really enjoying listening to this. And I was like, because my thirds right now are, I'm like, okay, I'm very biased. These are clearly just people that I really like, and I need to think about what represents the community more.
Yeah.
So I'm like, my brain's going, Mighty Brother's one. I'm like, I can't just be like, Mighty Brother's one. He's not been in the event community for half a year now.
AJ, do you just want to finish yours?
Yeah, okay, I'll finish mine. Easy. I'm gonna go up next. Feinberg. It's Feinberg, and I think that also I think not only does it sort of I think Feinberg's definitely bringing something going into the future of events, but also the whole speedrunning part of it. I wanted to shout out as well, and I thought Feinberg was the perfect person for that. Because the speedrunning community is a huge part of the event community that's just sort of a cousin, I would say. And then my fourth's more difficult. I think I'm going to go with fruit berries, because I love fruit berries, and that's put Rice off now. See, this is why snake formations exist. You should have picked fruit berries.
Okay, I wasn't expecting Liam to pass it beyond me. I didn't think he could do that.
I also think if we were to put
Sorry, guys.
me having
Sorry, guys.
Major Feinberg fibre fan of fruit berries kind of goes off.
I mean, I think okay. So my problem is right now. My entire logic for making this was I wanted to have someone that represents different parts of the community, right? Cal being the epitome of what a competitive player is, while still not being a bad person. You then have, you know, obviously Wade, who represents everything else around the community, the type of person that everyone would want to be around in the event scene. I've never heard anyone say a bad word about Wade Box ever. Like, in terms of actually in the community who's actually met him properly. And that's hard to say, because there's a lot of toxicity and drama in this community that's needless at times. I think that's fair to say. And Wade gets to go beyond that, because he's just that wonderful.
Yeah.
If I'm going to talk about representing other parts of the community, you know what? I'm going to go for a really shot in the dark here. I think, in terms of repping the community across events, I think I'm having a toss-up between Sandwich and Amesy, weirdly enough.
I did think
And
of
it is
both of these people.
Yes,
Now, I'm not going to say Amesy, but just because that clip is generational, right? But Sandwich, although he's an incredible player, I don't think what gets him on my Mount Rushmore is actually about him being an incredible player, because he is someone that the community adores and has been tracked now through multiple events. And the community does adore Sandwich. You know, him getting into MCC finally, being in person at a live event both years in a row, and the reception Sandwich got, it was incredible. Even this year, way more this year, but still, the type of rallying that he has managed to curate with the community through friends, of course, and that, but the amount of people that were brought together that wanted to see specifically him succeed on a stage, right? And for the event community, that's a big deal. I don't think people were like processed yet that having live events is nuts. The fact they get packed out, the fact that in Europe the crowds are way better, but that's to be fair, that's like any sport. Seeing that many people be brought together for someone, you need to be a special kind of person to do that, you know. And he has been one of the most consistent people that pushed MCCCI content out, who was very much defined what those streams, what that line of content is, has been very committed, very diligent, very hardworking. And unlike someone like Kel, who's very good, I think that someone like Sandwich has to persistently keep pushing himself. I know the pressure he puts on himself. It's very evident in the streams. He's been very open about it. It has got to be very exhausting. And then to go on stage and put a performance the way he did, right? To be a part of, and he was very crucial part of the most famous event clip we will ever see. The AMZ 1v4 will be the biggest event clip of all time. I don't think anything could top it. You're on stage, live, against a team of good PvPers, and your girlfriend sat to your right. Like, is there anything more cinematic? No. But I think the fact he did finish off that event, the fact that he has countless times where he's brought people together through his own content, I think he deserves a spot on that list. My fourth, Liam, help me out.
Let Liam shout out.
That's what I said.
Oh,
That's what I said.
God,
Liam, you
oh
go.
God, I'm
Liam, you
back on
gotta
this.
go. I don't know my fourth age. I'm good.
I'm back on the seat. I actually think I've had like weirdly, well, I gave myself time to think on purpose. I actually think my third, and this will be an interesting choice, I think, for all of you. I think my third choice is JoJo Solos.
No, good shout.
I think in my Mount Rushmore, I think JoJo has just been such a positive light on the event community ever since she came into it through Rising 1. I think there is no one who just shines as much as JoJo does. JoJo has never gone into an event with any like sort of dismay or negativity. She has always gone into every event just giddy as hell, excited to play. And as someone who like enjoys watching events, I love seeing people actually excited to play the event. Like every single time, I know she was really excited to play Biome Battle again, which was a really fun thing to see. Every time she's in MCC, it's like she's been invited for the first time, and I love to see that. She just treats the event scene how I think the event scene should be treated, and that is just, you get an opportunity to do something cool once a month, maybe twice a month. You just live it. You live it. You don't, let it get to your head. You don't let the chances of a finale be what stops you. I think JoJo is the perfect definition of a player that is there because of the love that they have for the people inside of the project, and also for the projects themselves. And I've had the chance to talk to JoJo a few times, and they are an insanely just loving and incredible person. And also, they casted for MCC very recently, and you could tell that they were having the time of their lives the last 2 times they've done it as well. You could just tell that this is something they love doing, and it's so exciting and thrilling to them. And I think that is something that you don't see for a lot of event players that much, especially when they are playing like the big ones like MCC and Block Wars. But JoJo just has that for me consistently, where she is just so happy to be there, and it makes it infectious for anyone to do that. But if I'm thinking about my fourth, on my fourth, you know, it's a little bit. You see, you've taken a few of mine. Like, I think my fourth is definitely a choice. I could have made a joke and said Keemstar, but I did not.
I thought about
You
Keemstar as well.
You joke. You joke. You
You
joke.
joke for Loki.
No, I had it written down for my final one a minute ago. I'm not joking. I was like, I mean, technically.
I'll see Monday. Like, I guess you have to consider a little bit. But I think my fourth. Oh, actually don't know. I need a little bit more time to think on this. You got your fourth, Rice?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, you go
I
then.
actually thought about it. Noxite. I
Uh,
actually settled on it.
Not
I
a
thought about
player though.
it. You said, is it players?
Was it players? Let me look. Let me look at the actual.
Let me check that. Oh,
Let's
it's
check
event
those.
players. No,
Yeah.
it's event players.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So
Although,
if they
if you ever
played
want
in
to
an
play
event, are we
Biome
allowing
Battle,
it?
then you know. Yes.
Okay. I would actually say, and I'm pretty sure they must have played an event at some point, right? Either Joey Coppola.
No, kind of. Yeah. I see. I also thought Joey, and I was like,
So I'm
I
basically
can't find
trying
any
to,
events Joey's been in. Is the issue?
or I'm just trying to pick on someone who I think,
Hey, I'll allow Joey.
Kickstart
I'll
this.
allow Joey. Yeah.
because the thing is like. Someone who heavily develops and works on events and pushes them out, like, because right, yes, lots of events have kicked up people. What inspired a lot of events was people wanted to play in their own MCC. That is a fact. Almost every original event you'll hear, that is the same story. Whether it was recreationists or people making their new events, they all started by saying, "We want to play an MCC on our own. Let's make an event." That was it. Let's make our own tournament. And Block Wars. I mean, actually, I believe Joey owns it now, so technically it'd be the original person who did play. But I'm going to say Joey because he has been now created a whole company, right? Which is a big deal in the event scene. To be a company, remember, Nox Crew was a company before MCC. So technically speaking, Capolo Media is the first ever event company. I thought about Bit Squid and Wolfie, and I have reasons for both of them, but I don't want to not being on there. But I don't want to get in that yap because that would take a while. But I think someone like Joey kicking that off and then holding on to it is a bit. I may be mistaken, by the way, but I just think you could take any player who's been there since the beginning, who's worked and helped develop Block Wars into what it is. It is a huge deal, a huge standard. They've been sponsored by Chipotle, for crying out loud, right? A Minecraft event that has been hosted by Twitch rivals that wasn't MCC. Nox Crew has been in the scene for a decade and a half, I believe, now, actually, right? They've been pushing out content for a long old time. So when you're looking back and you're realizing how far we've come, having the people that have made Block Wars and helped shape it into what it is, it has been the inspiration. It has been the founding father for all these other events. Because if you talk to anyone, and I'm sure you'll agree with this, Liam, actually, as someone who's played in it, MCC is still held in a regard outside of other events. It's still held as the gold standard.
Yeah.
Right? And that's important because other events have been told you can still be this too. You can still be your own thing. And that would not have been possible to this level if it was not for Block Wars. We can all say, oh, well, it may have come about. People probably would have just kept recreating it. It was the first event to take it to that next level. that is held now in a regard that actually pulls more viewers than MCC does. We've never seen that, ever. And I think Mount Rushmore has to include someone impactful in that journey because it has set and paved the way for literally all the events we plan now. We would not be having this conversation, in my opinion, if it was not for the people who made Block Wars. Very unlikely, because it would have looked very different. The event scene would be dominated by very different people because other events were popular. You know, other events were popular like Hunger Games, Ones for Money, UHCs. People who weren't competitive were given S&Ps as their content, and they were told that that wasn't their environment. And MCC inspired that. Block Wars showed this is possible, and that's why I think it deserves a spot somewhere on that. I mean, I honestly was thinking, I'm not joking, Twiggy, I did think of putting Morgan on there for the fact that he was the GOAT. You know, Fire Breath Man gets a lot of credit, but Morgan was incredible. But that would also be meaning mentioning Minecraft Monday in the top 4 most important things. And I don't want to reference Keemstar if I can avoid it.
And Liam, how about you end it off?
I mean, I had a little bit more time on Bitsquid and Wolfie. I think they'll be on there one day. I think they both. If they keep up the forward trajectory, they will be put
I
up
was
there.
tempted to put them, and then I was like, okay, but then that means I have to put, you know.
I think it's too recent for a Bitsquid to be put up there. Wolfie could.
Well,
I think also Wolfie needs more time too.
Yeah. I was tempted to put them all up there, and then I was like, oh, that means I sort of have to put PB there as well, and you know, I don't want to put Danny Pistachio on my.
Whoa, Danny,
Oh,
Yeah, Danny.
But
don't diss my goat.
A lot of my Mount Rushmore has been people that have been welcoming and like paved the way for like these like nice people just to be in the event community. And I think my last one makes a little bit more sense as well. My last pick is Filza. I think if you're gonna talk about someone who is the most welcoming presence and who shows people in the event community that there are just incredible people who do amazing things and are just downright beautiful human beings, I think Filza sits there in my mind. I was having a really like big think about it because I haven't really gone for anyone that would have been considered like your A-list tier like top frags or anything like that. But that's just because I don't think, for me, that's not what the event community means to me. The event community means how welcoming and how much they make an impact on someone's life. And I think Filza's someone who has made a consistent, beautiful impact on people's life. He's been there for a lot of people during hardest times. He's low-key made the entirety of the event community feel welcome. I think every time there's been an MCC, he's been joyous. He's loved every single moment that he does it. And someone with that level of just beautiful passion, I think you have to just give them like a round of applause and have them up there. There is no one that I think describes the Minecraft community and like the joy that I wish we could bring with the Minecraft community more than Filza. I think he sits there with Technoblade. Obviously, that one makes sense.
You really did hit the double there.
I hit the double, but it makes sense in my mind. I don't think there is anyone else who could put a smile on my face every single day by just being in an event that Phil, like the way that Phil does. Every time I see Phil in an event, I am so happy to be there, and I'm so happy that he is there because you can tell he wants to be there and he wants to uplift every single time he's doing it. And I think that goes unwatched in the community at the moment. I think getting to see these creators that just uplift all the time and have such a positive energy no matter what the situation is something really important, and I think Filza is a great definition of that for me.
Yeah, definitely. Well, with that, we've reached the end of Block Talk, which has gone on over 20 minutes longer than originally planned. But that is exactly what I thought it would. It's been amazing having you both. It's exactly... I knew it would be... I knew it would go over time. Firstly, thank you very much, Royce in Real Time, for being my wonderful co-host and for being the exact amount of yapping I needed.
Good one. Anytime.
And thank you to our wonderful guest, Liam. Liam, would you like to promote yourself to people that definitely already know who you are?
Oh gosh. I mean, first of all, I've got to say thanks for having me. I mean, I wouldn't have described myself as the as the first guest for a podcast talking about Minecraft events, as just a silly little bisexual man who just floats between the fabrics of SMP and event. But I appreciate being chose first here. Obviously, if you don't know me, hello. My name is LynxyLiam. I cover Minecraft content, whether that be events or SMPs, over on my Twitch channel. But I also run Shine Brighter, which is a charity organization raising money for a bunch of different charities. We are currently working with Make-A-Wish on July 19th for Flower Frenzy. That is public, don't worry. I've had a panic attack several times trying to think of whether or not I made that public. It is! So I can breathe happy. So definitely tune into that July 19th. And then also Block Talk can have an exclusive. Which is a fun one. In August, we will be running a different event that I'm not going to be saying the name of yet. However, there's an event in August raising money for RSPCA in August time too, which is going to be a very fun change from the norm, because we are going to start looking at animal wildlife charities for Shine Brighter, as well as our LGBTQ charities. Check me out on Twitter on Shine Brighter or Shine Events _ for the Twitter, and then LynxyLiam for Twitter as well. You can see a bunch of updates there. I did just post something where if I get to 5K by the end of this month, I will do 24 12-hour streams continuously in the month of August. So if you want to make me suffer, there's nothing better than a follow button. Thank you so much to AJX and Rice for having me. I appreciate being able to yap and debate. You guys have made a very open forum and a safe spot with this where I feel like I could do that. So that deserves a lot of respect from them too as well. So if you guys haven't hyped them up already, hype them up enough. They've given a safe space to yap about the event community and not feel like I'm about to get like my IP address leaked, thrown into a pit of lava, and then kicked with a football from chamber trials. So it makes sense. And I hope that this continues. I mean, has the chat liked it? Has the chat enjoyed it?
I hope so. Very thankful for having you on. You're wonderful. The chat is non-existent now.
the chat are commenting when we need them to comment.
The chat's like, genuinely, now you're asking us to talk, don't care. Genuinely, I'm show's over, pack it up, go on.
I would like to, before we end, I would like to thank all the chat for being here, because wonderful, very, very grateful how many people were here. I'd like to thank Rice for the subscription earlier. I would like to thank both May and Portal for the raids, incredible. We're reaching our end, but yes, thank you very much for watching, everyone. We will now decide who to raid, but I'm going to end the recording.